Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. I have said on this platform that the passing of the Constitutional Amendment Bill number 3 and the signing of it into law is one of these very significant points in Zimbabwe's history. The sooner we can remove this law, scrap it altogether, the better it will be for the country. Zimbabwe is a failed state because for 46 years and counting, the nation has had the misfortune of being ruled by corrupt, incompetent, and tyrannical thugs. The Constitutional Amendment Bill number 3 gives ZANU-PF even more additional dictatorial powers. So I am totally against it. But I've also said on this platform that I don't support the activities of some of those people who are saying they are fighting to end it. One of those activities is this 21st July peaceful protest. I've said I don't support it because I don't believe it will be peaceful, for a start. Both the organizers and the regime are not preparing for a peaceful protest. And Mnangagwa has already started telling people why. So this afternoon, we'd like to discuss some of those things and go into greater detail of those matters. And those of you out there who are able to join us, you're welcome to join us. We'll show you the link at the bottom of your screen. Welcome to the program, Ben.
Good day to you and good day to our viewers. Thank you for joining us. Now, I want to start by talking about protesting, mass action. You know, as we look at the whole Zimbabwe situation, the whole picture, I think it is inevitable that there is going to be a clash at some point. Something has to give. But going on to tell the people that we're going to be doing things peacefully and so forth, I think that is utter nonsense. I don't see anything peaceful that is coming up out of this. I'll give you an example. This 31st of July protest. I mean, you can see ZANU-PF is already gearing for it as well. Arrests are taking place. Their teams, Windies for ED and so forth, are also gearing up for the clash. They have been sending threatening messages. And the opposition has been saying it's been peaceful. But already you can see that the opposition is being arrested. There's nothing peaceful about what is coming. It's going to be just a clash. ZANU-PF are not willing to listen to anything that is peaceful. They are not willing to negotiate anything. So I believe it's just something that is a lie if we are going to say or use the word peaceful.
We will not stop our development plans and programs because of the noise from some little boys. They will continue making that noise, but we shall continue to move on. But I warn anybody who may want to be nonsensical and bring chaos in this country, we are ready for any chaos, to deal with any chaos. Whoever who preach hate speech shall be responsible for their hate speech. Our prisons are not full. We want peace. Those who do not disagree with that, but do so quietly and peacefully. Then, tichafamba tose murugare nokuwirirana. Asi ukaita mhesva
There is Mnangagwa boasting about violence, the use of violence. We cannot deny that ZANU-PF is a party of thugs. Mnangagwa firmly believes in the use of violence to get what he wants. And anyone who wants to downplay that reality is making a big mistake. The regime is gearing for violence. And let's be honest, the only acceptable solution to this is having this obnoxious amendment bill scrapped altogether. And that is the last thing Mnangagwa wants. We know that. We all know that. And so this is where we should start. How are we going to get this obnoxious bill scrapped in a realistic way? Because to say that we're going to have peaceful demonstrations on its own, I honestly don't think it's addressing the problems. Because first of all, we have to admit it, even if the regime was to allow the peaceful demonstrations to occur, and they are peaceful, it will ignore the result. And as long as the bill, the law still remains, the regime will continue to exploit it. And this country simply cannot afford to have this extra burden placed upon it. As I said, Zimbabwe is a failed state. And now the regime is piled on even more dictatorial powers on both the president Mnangagwa himself and then the regime itself. And there is no limit to the mischief the regime will go into now that they've got these additional powers. So fighting it we must, but we must also stop and think, how are we going to fight it? And I think that, to me, is the argument that we should be having too.
We have to take it a little bit realistically and look at the situation on the ground. I don't see ZANU PF just walking away because a million people marched on the streets. If they march on the streets, I do not see that happening. It's already the picture that and the tone that they have said is we will fight this. And it may not have come directly from the authority above, but the subgroups have been led you know to continue with that speed. If they were stopped, we would have said, ZANU PF wants some way or a different way to talk about it. But the fact that they're actually now arresting the opposition, and yet the same individuals within their group are also spreading the same violence, it shows that it's inevitable that there is going to be a clash. It is coming. It was coming. It's just a matter of time.
Already drafted and emailed the letter requesting permission to march on the 31st of July to our government. Now we are seeking for anyone who's on the ground in Harare to please go print the letter and submit it to the nearest Zimbabwean police station. If you'd like to volunteer to deliver the letter physically, please do email me, text me, my numbers are on my bio. All you are doing is printing and submitting. I'm about to read you all the letter that we submitted so that everyone understands what it is that we requested from the government. In collaboration with the Zimbabwe National Unity Council, we drafted this letter directed to the Regulatory Authority of Zimbabwe. This is a notice of a public demonstration in terms of Section 7 of the Maintenance of Peace and Order Act, Chapter 11 to 23. The purpose of this demonstration is to provide Zimbabwean citizens with an opportunity to peacefully exercise their constitutional rights to freedom of expression, freedom of assembly and association, and to petition those in authority on matters of national importance. The demonstration is intended to be entirely peaceful and non-violent. Its objectives include affirming respect for the Constitution, promoting accountable governance, encouraging dialogue between citizens and government, and demonstrating public support for the protection of constitutional rights and democratic freedoms. The march is on the 31st of July 2026 at Africa Unity Square, Harare. Approximately 200 people will be march. We will have approximately 10 volunteer marshals that will wear clearly identifiable clothes, and they will assist in maintaining order, facilitating communication with participants, and encouraging peaceful conduct throughout the demonstration. Participants will assemble at Africa Unity Square. The demonstration will remain within the designated public area.
Well, that's all very well. But to be quite honest, I don't see how that petition is going to be considered offensive by the regime. So in this particular instance, if that's the petition they intend to submit, I don't see anything wrong with it, Benjamin. Do you?
No, I don't see anything wrong with what the people of Zimbabwe want to do. But like I said, we have to be realistic. I want to first of all draw this picture. This is one of many other organizations or political organizations that want to demonstrate on that one particular day. We know there is, the BT organization that wants to do that. There are many other political organizations that are also wanting to do that. And now, the moment each and every political organization takes in and hands in their intent, the most logical thing that is going to happen is that the police are going to deny all of them. And rightfully, because they cannot protect the entire number of organizations at one go. And after they are denied, each and every one of them are going to think that this is how ZANU PF has always done. But I mean, when you look at it realistically, if they had joined forces and put in one petition, it could have been understood. If, even if they were denied, that would be just ZANU PF blatantly denying people their constitutional right. But the fact that you have so many that are actually seeking on the same very day, the police cannot do it. That is the honest truth. The police cannot keep everybody and control all 11, because all 11 have got different weddings and different agendas. So it's now inevitable that the police are going to deny it, and there is going to be a clash. That is how I see it. But if it was just this one paper that we have, one organization that is saying, we have absorbed everybody and everybody is on board with this one thing, it would have made perfect sense. And police denying them would have been a violation of their rights. But as long as we have so many of all this here, we are still heading to the same thing. Well, but it's inevitable. It's not going to be peaceful.
Well, I think I would say I'll have to give them, the organizers, credit of the doubt, because I don't know whether any other organization has submitted a letter to the police notifying them that there will be that demonstration. So on that point, I'll give them the credit of the doubt. But my other point here is, even if that demonstration is allowed, this petition is not saying much about the Constitutional Amendment Bill number 3. So what is it exactly? I mean, is it just an opportunity to express, to have a a peaceful demonstration that they are after? Because in the petition itself, unless I misread it, I misunderstood it, it does not say much about what is it they're protesting. I mean, did you understand what they're really protesting here?
Well, I think, they are talking about the, protection of the Constitution. And given what has been happening right now, I would, one would assume that we are talking about the current violations of the Constitution. That is what everybody's talking about. But realistically, like what, we want to deal with what is real. The Constitution of Zimbabwe has been violated for a very, very long time. I mean, we can even go back to the SADC reports and all other, observer mission reports that stated that even our elections were a true violation of the Constitution. So the wording here is leaving or opening a gap of assumptions to say, probably they are meaning about, the violation that happened now, or maybe they're talking of the entire violation since 1980. It's difficult to understand on that regard.
Well, I mean, that's another weakness. You should be really specific. If you're just exercising your democratic right to hold a public protest, peaceful public protest, fine. If you're protesting that the election, the constitution should not be violated, fine. Because they'll turn around and say, no, we didn't violate the constitution. That is the argument they put in when they drafted that Constitution Amendment Bill number 3. We have heard those supporting the regime argue that the Constitution has not been violated. The Constitution has been upheld. So again, here is a situation where we need to be absolutely clear what we want. And I think to leave it so vague that the regime can say, you see, we are a democratic nation, we're a peace-loving nation, we allowed our people to hold a peaceful demonstration, and they held their peaceful demonstration, and we accepted their petition. And we have acted on it even. Because there's really, in terms of this constitutional amendment, Bill number 3, which I have said is an obnoxious piece of legislation that is only piling up ZANU-PF's dictatorial powers. We really need to focus on getting it scrapped ASAP, as soon as possible. And this petition, the way I read it, is not even making any reference to the Constitutional Amendment Bill number 3, much less is it specific that it really must be scrapped. It's not negotiable. We have to scrap this piece of legislation. It doesn't do that. So for me to support a protest like that, I have to ask myself, to what end and purpose? And I think that is what people should be thinking about. I don't know, maybe let's listen to it again, in case you and me have missed something here, and let the listener also be their own judge.
Nearest Zimbabwean police station. If you'd like to volunteer to deliver the letter physically, please do email me, text me, my numbers are on my bio. All you are doing is printing and submitting. I'm about to read you all the letter that we submitted so that everyone understands what it is that we requested from the government. In collaboration with the Zimbabwe National Unity Council, we drafted this letter directed to the Regulatory Authority of Zimbabwe. This is a notice of a public demonstration in terms of Section 7 of the Maintenance of Peace and Order Act, Chapter 11 to 23. The purpose of this demonstration is to provide Zimbabwean citizens with an opportunity to peacefully exercise their constitutional rights to freedom of expression, freedom of assembly and association, and to petition those in authority on matters of national importance. The demonstration its objectives include affirming respect for the Constitution, promoting accountable governance, encouraging dialogue between citizens and government, and demonstrating public support for the protection of constitutional rights and democratic freedoms. The march is on the 31st.
Okay, stop it there. To be quite honest, I think that is saying very little, if anything at all, vis-a-vis that this constitutional amendment bill number 3 is an obnoxious piece of legislation. And that is in black and white. I think individuals should read it for themselves and be clear. Because there's no point in submitting in this case here, a petition, and then at the end of the day you argue yourself and say, well, what is the petition supposed to accomplish? And in my view, I think if they have not submitted it, these people should really go back and look at what is it exactly you want to petition. And it should be very specific that it's talking about the Constitutional Amendment Bill number 3 that was signed into law a few days ago. And that would be my contribution to the organizers of this petition.
You know, I have to agree with you there to say not much was said in terms of the actual direction or intent of the demonstration. Basically, they were just touching on the surface of different things that are happening within Zimbabwe. Constitutional, like I said, constitutional violations. These could start all the way from 1980, you know, up until today. We know that Zimbabwe, you know, ZANU PF has been violating the constitution. And, you know, when you talk of dialogue, we have also a problem where the president, Emerson Mnangagwa, has always said that I'm a listening president and his door is always open. So it could easily be argued to say, you know, you cannot demonstrate, you can, you know, write and talk to me or something like that. You know, so you know, we have to be realistic on the, you know, when we get to some of these matters. Even if we, or if they had actually said that it was for CAB3, and you say you want to do it all peaceful and all, you know, beautiful and everything, that's nice, but is it realistic? No. I got, you know, we look at other countries that have had such protests. Most recent, Mozambique and Tanzania, where the citizens went out to the streets. And we know what happened. There was a clash between the security forces and the people. And hundreds of people were killed. That is what is normal. And up to this day, it's all quiet. Nobody has, you know, I don't know, maybe I missed that part a little bit. Did anybody, you know, was there an inquiry? Was it resolved, and how was it resolved?
Well, I can't answer you on that, on the Mozambique one. But I mean, we had, like you referred to, our own situations in Zimbabwe. You know, notably the shooting following the 2018 elections. There was an inquiry, and the commission found that those involved should be punished. But we all know that no one was punished. So, you know, that is another reality. But like I said here, I think there are two aspects here, that the demonstration on the 31st of July is not likely to be peaceful, as some people would claim. But if we base our argument on the petition that is being proposed there, personally, I would say if it's going to be 200 people and the petition is is not specific about CAB3. If I was government, I would say let it go ahead. Because then we can turn around and say, yes, even those who didn't want the amendment were given the chance to stage a peaceful protest, and they did. But in a democracy, we have got to allow the rule of law to continue, you know. And the petition itself, we've looked at it, and we've noted everything that they said in it. And in this particular case, if you are the petitioner, you cannot complain that they didn't look at it. Because all you say is you want people of Zimbabwe or people of Zimbabwe to have the right to have peaceful demonstration. And we're allowed to have a peaceful demonstration. The fact that you were not specific enough to say, we think this petition is such an obnoxious piece of law, it really has got to be scrapped, which is the only solution in this case. You didn't say it. Government is not going to act on it and assume that is what you want. They will assume that they are actually happy with it. You know, indeed, some of these ANOPF supporters in this particular case who are also keen to see people allowed to have peaceful demonstration would argue, but yes, I think that is a good petition. They will support it, but they will not support that the Constitution Amendment Bill number 3 should be scrapped. That is the problem with your petition, you know, and that is the argument we're trying to make here. I think the other point, Ben, I really would like Zimbabwe to focus on is what we said. I think last weekend we came to that point, and this is a quotation from this Chinese general whose writing has become the basis of warfare and anything that requires the same kind of reasoning. If you know your enemy and yourself, you need not fear the result of 100 battles. If you know yourself but not the enemy, for every victory gained, you also suffer a defeat. If you know neither the enemy nor yourself, you will succumb in every battle. As a nation, we cannot run away from the fact that the last 46 years, we have had rigged elections. We have succumbed in every election battle because we did not stop to know ourselves nor the enemy. And if we are going to continue on the same way we've done in the past, I think we'll just be repeating the same problem. We need to think out carefully what we are going to do and then do it. What is it we have done wrong in the past so that we don't repeat the same mistake? We should know ourselves. And I think some of the actions that are being proposed are nothing more than the knee-jerk reaction to the passing of this obnoxious Constitutional Amendment Bill number 3. And it is that knee-jerk reaction that is getting us nowhere. Some of the other people are proposing that they will take, and I understand there are a number of court cases already lined up. I don't see how a court challenge is going to change anything. Do you?
You know, the problem that I have is I don't mind the avenues that people are using. I think, exhaust it, let the records be there that, we tried this, we tried that, such that, when the eventuality comes, you have a shield towards it. But my problem is, you have so many different organizations that are there. And from these different organizations, everybody seems to be doing the same thing, but under their own banner. You're talking of court challenges, which means there are a lot. We may not know who went there and who has submitted, but there are many. But their story is the same. It's on CAB3, the violation, what the president did, and parliament and so forth. It just shows that we cannot then unite and do one thing as a people, as an opposition to whatever is sent by government. And I think that there is victory for ZANU PF. It just shows that we are so far apart amongst ourselves that we do not know ourselves at all. Just like what the general, on the art of war was talking about. That you need to know who you are, what you are seeking to achieve. If BT and Maduku and this new Zimbabwe Council National Council of Zimbabwe, sorry if I got the name wrong, all have the same message. And I believe the war veterans, war veterans, disgruntled war veterans, they have their own, court challenge as well. So you've got so many of these things that are coming up. Yet you all want to achieve the same thing, basically, which is stop CAB3 right now. Why don't you have one person just do the whole thing and have all your team, on the ground and do the same thing? The same thing with the peaceful demonstration. Everybody's saying peaceful demonstration. But if you're going to have 10, 11 organizations on the day wanting to do their own thing, there is no peace. It's already chaotic, and chaotic leads to strife. Once people are confused, different people, and I know for a fact that ZANU PF is going to push some of its people in there to stir up the chaos that has already existed, to have the excuse to say, look, we gave them the chance. They knew they just wanted to destroy. And now we are going to put them back. And, like I was mentioning, we've seen it in other countries. People have been hit and killed. It becomes normal in Africa. A few hundreds is sacrifice for the entire, for the peace of a nation. That is what it comes down to. So my problem is we have so many of our opposition organizations. Zimbabwe is rich with political organizations nowadays, that everybody is doing different things and petitioning on different things on one particular day, which will just lead to a lot of confusion. And when you get this confusion and chaos, it is easy to plant seeds of confusion, strife, and other malicious acts into them. And before you know it, it's going to lead to a clash. And clashes mean death, especially when you look in Africa. They show no mercy. You had a picture of that soldier that was actually pointing a gun, not to shoot in the air, but to shoot at people. Unfortunately, he was not a marksman. Otherwise, he would have butchered a lot of people on that particular day. But one life lost is just too many, especially when it's just senseless. Realistically, I don't see anything peaceful about any process or any petition or whatever in Zimbabwe. We're just heading to the inevitable. And I think whatever we are going to do in Zimbabwe, this is where we are going to end up. It's going to be a clash. ZANU-PF will never walk away.
On the court challenges, my main reason for my reservation is that we cannot argue that ZANU-PF has captured the judiciary. But when it's convenient, we disregard that and pretend that we have got an independent judiciary. The truth of the matter is we do not have an independent judiciary. Zimbabwe's courts are captured. We should never forget that this is the same judiciary that ruled that the 2017 military coup, for instance, was justified, legal, and constitutional. That is utter nonsense. That judiciary made those pronouncements only because those who had conducted the military coup prevailed. If they had not prevailed in 2017, the same judiciary would have come up with a damning condemnation of the military coup. Make no mistake about it. The judiciary is captured. In this particular case, to argue with the case of the constitutional violation is so clear-cut that the judiciary will be forced to condemn Constitutional Amendment Bill number 3. I think it's stretching imagination here. We know that most of these judges have done worse things in the last 46 years. I've just referred to that judgment of the post-217 military coup. It is the same judges. And they know that this regime is unforgiving. You do something that they don't like, you'll be lucky to be promoted to supervise the cleaners. Otherwise, you'll be fired or worse. That is the reality. So in this particular case, I think the people of Zimbabwe should look at these court challenges and stop and think, are we not just repeating the same mistakes over and over again? And the more reason when you look at the people who are involved, actively involved in some of these actions, are themselves the same individuals who sold out failed to implement the democratic reforms even when they had the golden chance to do so this last 26 years. And some of them are now taking a pivotal role in these court challenges and so forth to revive their political careers. All they want is to have a public profile, to have the spotlight on them, whether or not it accomplish the desired result of getting this obnoxious law scrapped is irrelevant. We cannot rule that out. And I will strongly argue Zimbabweans to seriously look at it. Ben, I don't know whether you had given a thought on, so what is the way forward in this particular instance?
First of all, I just want to come back to these court challenges. I spoke about the problem that we have multiple challenges and applications that are happening right now, which is not good for us. But if all organizations were to join and put in that one court challenge as to why they are opposed to this whole constitutional CAB3, basically, it may not seem useful because it is well documented that, the judiciary in Zimbabwe is captured. Fair and fine. But having that record there that you did try and do the right thing before you escalated is of equal importance. This will help put a shield or somewhat of a shield in front of you or behind you. I believe, you just don't say, because you have, you have signed this CAB3, well, we are prepared to go to war with you. And then the next thing we are putting on our gloves, guns, sticks, whatever, pitchforks, and start fighting. This is procedure. We tried to, do it the court way. And look, any judiciary around the world will know that this is a clear violation of the Constitution of Zimbabwe. What ZANU-PF has done is a clear-cut violation of the Constitution. That record is very important. And this is where I believe that having it will one day protect you in case you need help from the international community. And I believe we are going to get there. ZANU-PF is not going to just walk away. It is not. And they have showed it in the past that they will kill to stay there. They will kill to stay there. So whoever is thinking that in the end it's going to be one in the court and so forth, or it's going to be one by peaceful demonstrations where we hold, placards and so forth, is kidding themselves. They really need to wake up to the reality of past events and present. It is inevitable that a clash would come, but you need to have that purpose to clearly state what it is that you are trying to achieve. We were talking about the document that was sent by the lady that was speaking, that it does not bring out a clear picture to say what is it that we want to go and do. You briefly just touched on the surface, and this is where the problem is with many other organizations. We are doing things separately, and then we want to do it all on the same day, and we want to approach the same courts. With it becomes a mess. But if one document was sent to the courts, if one document is sent to the police that is clearly worded to say this is the reason we are family, number one, it's against, you know, CAB3. Secondly, we are against corruption. Thirdly, we want to be able to be part and parcel of the discourse of our country. You have stated exactly why your intent. But if you're saying, you know, we want to protect the constitution from who, and you know, that kind of thing, it just opens so many doors that you really don't want. It becomes noise. So this is my point on why, you know, going through the judicial route right now is important. You need to have that record in, and that record, you never know when it's going to kick in to help you to say, you know, they're killing the people, but you know, they refuse to talk to them in court, and they refuse to give them fair judgment. It is crystal clear. You know, you could go the judiciary way in Zimbabwe. After Zimbabwe denies you, you could go somewhere else, and they will grant you, which is bigger than you know, Zimbabwe itself. Then there is already something that is contradicting the other here, which means that Zimbabwe is failing their people. The judiciary in Zimbabwe is failing their people. Then now you can start bringing out your pitchforks and your sticks. This is, I believe, what is the way forward. That will be the way forward.
Thank you, Ben. Just want to remind the people out there who are listening that if you want to join us tomorrow, we'll have a similar program, and the link is on the bottom of your screen. It will be 7 o'clock UK time, 8 o'clock Zimbabwean time. The way forward, in my view, I think the most important thing for Zimbabweans out there to understand is that we have been going down this road for the last 46 years. The road of rigged elections and bad governance, because we have never stopped to ask ourselves, what is it we are doing wrong? And stop doing it. We have been repeating the same mistakes over and over again. These street protests, constitutional court challenges, is repeating the same thing we have been doing the last 46 years. And we got nowhere. We still need to have this obnoxious law scrapped. It has piled the problem on the nation. That I accept. I think the most we can do right now is on the 31st of July, when these individuals called their protest, stay at home. You don't have to go on the street. You can stay at home. But I think we also need to make sure that our voice is heard. In this day and age, with so many opportunities to communicate your views, it is tragic that the people of Zimbabwe have been very silent. Some of the things that have been happening in the country, you would say the nation should have been up in arms, literally, over them. But they've been deafening silence instead. There is nothing wrong with people submitting their views on these issues, on the Constitutional Amendment Bill number 3, condemning it for what the evil it's going to do to the nation. You don't have to wait for Mnangagwa to become the state president for you to finally start protesting. There are so many things to protest about in Zimbabwe. But we can start with this Constitutional Amendment Bill number 3. People should stay home on that day, but make sure that you send out your message why you're staying at home. And you should also make it very clear that you're going to escalate this. There is nothing wrong. You don't even have to give police notice that you're staying at home. But there's nothing wrong with people agreeing that if the regime does not do anything about it, there will be another stay home. In this case, escalate it. Instead of it just being 1 day, make it 2 days. And if the regime does nothing about it, escalate it as again. One of the other ways people could escalate this is adding demands. Instead of just protesting against this Constitutional Amendment Bill number 3, one of the most burning issues in my view is the issue of why millions of Zimbabweans are being denied the right to own even 1 acre of land in the rural areas. Many of our fellow citizens have been returning from South Africa. And that's about where 60% of our people live. And yet, if you live in the rural area, you do not have title deeds to even 1 acre of land. And this is a deliberate policy by the regime to keep the people in the rural areas poor and dependent on the regime. We know this. Those are the 2 demands that the people of Zimbabwe could start posting and making sure that ZANU-PF understand. And I would say those are causes worthy of staying at home. I know that Zimbabwe's economy has all but collapsed. Most of our people are in the informal sector. But even those in the informal sector, in a city like Harare, that is usually a beehive of activity, if suddenly those street vendors are not there, the regime will notice. And most of those street vendors are themselves victims of the regime's policy of denying people even an acre of land in the rural areas. Think about it. This fight can be won. It's just that we have not taken the trouble to know our strength and our own weaknesses as a people. I'd like to leave you with a quotation from the Chinese general. Particularly look at the last bit. We in Zimbabwe have failed to hold free, fair, and credible elections for 46 years and counting, because we have allowed ZANU-PF to cheat and get away with it. Thank you very much. Have a good evening.